Hello and welcome back to Mark's Garden UK at Rose Cottage near Nantwich in Cheshire. This is my first time veg plot. What I mean by that is I've never tried growing vegetables before, ever in my life. So you are watching me learn on the job, and in this video I'm going to share with you 5 things that I think went well and 5 things that I think I could have done better. And interspersed amongst that, there'll be some little hints and tips which I've learnt in this experience growing veg for my first time. So let's get on with it. I think the first thing that went well has been my carrots. I was quite worried by carrot flies, but what I learnt during the process was that carrot fly at ground level. So by putting the carrots in a raised bed, it's protected them or given them some protection from carrot fly. You can actually grow marigolds next to them and it distracts the carrot fly. I'm going to pull one of these up now and see how they're getting on. And there we are. A tiny little baby carrot. Doesn't look much, but I'm quite proud of that. And I shall enjoy that raw with my lunch. In terms of lettuce, it's been a mixed result. I've had quite a lot of leaves off these lettuces just by picking them off, and they call it cut and come again. But the thing I want to focus on is the thing that I will do better next time, and that is I will not oversow the seeds. I put too many seeds into these 3 beds. And the second thing I will do differently next time is I will thin them out. I just left them, I didn't thin them out, and eventually I just took all the goodness out of this soil and I'm left with lots of dead lettuces. I'm going to take all the dead ones out now and see if I can rescue them. So the message there is don't oversow the lettuces and thin them out a little bit sooner, earlier in the year. Having said that, I have had some nice leaves off these 3 different types of lettuce. So, mixed bag. Another success now, and that is my radishes. The radishes really took off. They sprung into life very early on, and they grew within 3 or 4 weeks into edible crop. And you can see a whole video on how to grow radishes on my channel. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. The thing I learnt about radishes is they grow very quickly and they can be harvested very quickly, and you can re-sow them. I didn't get round to re-sowing them, but I could quite easily have had another crop of radishes in this small bed. I had about 18 lovely plump radishes from this small area, which is no more than 2 square foot, and they were delicious and crunchy. One thing about radishes, don't leave them in the ground too long before you harvest them, because they become woody and overly spicy. I got to mine just in time. My second failure. Now, these are my Hugelkultur bulk bag raised beds. I showed you how to make these in a video on my channel. Again, I'll put a link at the end. Basically, it's garden waste at the bottom, soil at the top. You plant into it, the roots go down, they eat. Use the garden waste as food below. But the mistake I made with this crop here is that I didn't put any protection over them, and you can see that the leaves are absolutely covered in hundreds and hundreds of little caterpillars. Now, this is only half of this crop. I have transplanted some of it to my no-dig bed, which I'll show you in a moment, but just have a look at these caterpillars. There are dozens and hundreds of them, and they are enjoying my crop of cabbages and cauliflowers. So I wish I'd put some protection, maybe a net or a fleece over these to stop the butterflies from laying their eggs on these, but they are absolutely riddled and covered with caterpillars. I'm going to leave the caterpillars on these. I have some of this crop in my no-dig bed at the other side of the garden, so I will leave these here, and hopefully the birds will make a meal of them, and that will add to the food chain. Another success now. I'm going to give you 2 for the price of 1, because these are only kind of half successes. The first half success was making a note of what I'd planted and where this was invaluable. If I hadn't taken a note of what I'd planted where, some of these crops look very similar, particularly the brassicas and the cauliflowers and the cabbages. If I hadn't done that, I would have been completely lost and I wouldn't have known what I was doing. So that's a half success. The other half success is these wonderful spring onions. I found these incredibly easy to grow. I really just broadcast the seeds on top and just sprinkle some soil over them, and they've done incredibly well. I'm going to be pulling these up at the weekend when my family visit, and we're going to be having these in cellars. But just look at that, a lovely spring onion, a big success. I didn't do as well as I'd hoped with the herbs which I sowed in this little coal frame, and I think one of the mistakes I made was I used food trays, and actually I think the food trays were just a little bit shallow for the seeds to get roots down into. They did germinate, but they didn't survive very long. And the other thing I did slightly wrong was I left this lid on too much and they became very overheated and very dry. I did have a win with some of my herbs. I've got lots of parsley and mint and dill, which I'm going to show you in a minute, but some of the herbs just withered and died. So next time I'm going to use slightly deeper trays, I think. And here are some of the herbs that have done well, and I'm pleased I've done well with these herbs because I'm about to create a herb garden, and one of my subscribers, Rosie, has sent me some seeds in the post, and that's going to spur me on. So these will form the start of my herb garden. I've also had an idea. I'm going to put some of these plants at the end of my drive and hopefully sell them with the proceeds to charity. So here we are, lovely, a big tray of about 12 parsley plants there. I did manage to rescue some chives, only 3, but I believe they will do well now that I've rescued them and put them into some good soil. And look at this, 6 lovely dill plants and lots of mint. Rosemary sent me some live mint plants in the post, so all these mint plants can go into my plant sale for charity. And these 2 pots here, which you can see, terracotta pots with gravel on top, have got thyme in them. Lots of lovely little thyme plants. I'm looking forward to those coming to maturity. And again, they can either go into my herb garden or my plant sale. So herbs, a great success. In all honesty, the parsley and the dill were in the hugelkultur raised beds. The thyme and the mint were in those shallow trays in the coal frame. So those were the only 2 real herbs that survived from the coal frame in shallow trays. I did, however, get a good crop of cress, but I think in fairness, cress is very easy to grow. I used to grow cress on the window ledge when I was at school, and you just sprinkled the seeds onto wet tissue and it sprang into life, so I can't really claim much credit for cress. One thing that somebody on Instagram told me about cress is when you've chopped it all off, you can turn it all over, plonk it down on its top so that the roots are showing and it will sprout again. I haven't tried that yet. I might do next year. Another couple of successes, 2 for the price of 1, because in actual fact I think it's 2 half successes that actually add together to be 1 success. The first one being the beetroot. Now, somebody told me that they're very difficult to grow, and I've not found them difficult to grow at all. And in actual fact, you can eat the beetroot leaves. That was a little bit anemic, but you can actually take the leaves and eat them in a salad. I think I probably oversowed again, as I did the lettuce. I think I shall sow more sparingly next time. And the other thing about beetroots is you're not supposed to move them. So don't oversow, because that's the only soil they're going to get. They don't like to be relocated or transplanted. So I've probably got a little bit too many beetroots in here, and they will be hampered in terms of space. Probably time to give these some food so that the roots have got lots of food to go at so that they can mature and swell. The other slight success here, which is the other half of that one, is by putting these things into raised beds, when I needed to thin things out, I could just take the edge off the raised bed. I could just take it off with my screwdriver and get access to the plant without doing too much damage to the roots. I had a lot of purple sprouting broccoli out of here, which you'll see in a minute in the no dig bed, but these were some that were left over, and by taking the side out here and removing the plants from the top, I got access to the deeper soil, and I've just put some spare ones back in, and they're actually doing quite well. Try not to look at the lettuce, I'm a bit embarrassed by it. So Here we are down at the no dig veg plot. You can see a video on this on my channel. This is a technique that Charles Dowding pioneered. He's got a great channel, which again, I'll put the link to that in the description box below this one. I've got 2 rows of purple sprouting broccoli, a row of carrots, a row of sprouts, 2 or 3 rows of cabbages and 2 lovely rows of onions there. I think this has been a success in terms of the fact that the raised bed has worked, and all of these plants which I've transplanted from those hugelkultur beds are doing well. So one success was transplanting them. I think to caveat that is I wish I'd done it sooner, and again I wish I protected that because so many of these leaves have been eaten. One thing again that I learnt was when these were seedlings in those raised beds and hugelkultur raised beds in the compound, I didn't weed between them enough, and so it was difficult to transplant them without doing damage to some of the roots. And I think in particular some of these onions suffered. However, they are all starting to show signs of recovery. Most of them are now erect, and I can see the onions swelling just below ground level. So, more weeding next time, more protection next time, transplant sooner next time. But in terms of this raised bed, all these plants are looking really healthy. And let's move on to another point which I wanted to point out is these tomatoes. Now, I left these far too long. There were 7 plants in one tiny pot, but the one thing I did do right was I buried strings underneath the roots so that as these grow taller, I'll be able to use these strings to support them. What I'm going to do is support these to something overhead and then wrap them around. Now, I didn't pinch out these tomatoes. Should I have done? Let me know in the box below. Is it too late to pinch them out? I think I read somewhere that you're supposed to pinch them out. What I did do though was I buried them really deep. I buried them above the first set of leaves, and apparently that gets them more stability and encourages them to grow more fruits. So I'm hoping still to get some tomato fruits off these plants. I don't know whether it's too late in the year now in August, but we'll see. I actually can see a little few flowers there that look as if they've actually been germinated and could well turn into fruits. So the string under the tomatoes was a success. Not transplanting them and separating them up soon enough. In my mind, I can do better next time. I don't like to use the word failure because this is the first time I've ever tried this, and if I get anything from it, I've succeeded. And I've already had some lovely radishes, I've got some great spring onions, and I'm pretty sure I'll get some vegetables from here. Another learning point which I wanted to bring to the table was the fact that I probably didn't sow my purple sprouting broccoli seeds deep enough. When I came to transplant them, I found that actually not much of the stalk was under the ground, and they were very unstable and leggy. I think I've got away with it because when I transplanted them, I buried a lot of the stalk into the ground and they seem to be doing okay. Butterflies just come past my head. In actual fact, talking of butterflies, I can see thousands of butterfly eggs on that leaf there, so I think I'm going to suffer, unfortunately. I think I might have to take a manual approach here with these crops and just take off a lot of the butterfly eggs and caterpillars myself, because if I don't get on top of it, there'll be too many for the birds to eat anyway. So, more protection from these little creatures in future. I encourage them in the garden because they're all part of the ecosystem, but I wish they weren't making a meal out of my vegetable crops. So, in summary, follow the instructions. Don't oversow your seeds so that they become too densely crowded. Plant the seeds at the appropriate depth. Get round to thinning them out and transplanting them a little bit sooner. Put some protection over the brassicas, especially to prevent the butterflies laying eggs on them, because those eggs will become thousands of caterpillars. Radishes are easy to grow and you can get a repeat crop every 3 or 4 weeks, as are spring onions, although they take a little bit longer. Put your carrots in raised beds to avoid the carrot fly from getting them, and also put them into lovely sieve soil so you get a lovely straight carrot. Make a note of what you've planted and where. Make sure that you've got deep enough soil in your containers so that the roots can get established. If you want to grow herbs, put strings underneath your tomato roots so that you can support them when they get tall enough. Don't let your plants overheat in a cold frame, but more than anything, enjoy yourself as I've done. This has been great fun and a real learning experience. I'll probably take this a little bit more seriously next year. I've still not lost hope for these lettuces. I might transplant a few of those and give them some intensive care with some of my nettle plant food and see what happens. These are still edible quite easily. Eat those on a salad. Nice flavour of lettuce. So I hope you've enjoyed that whistle-stop tour of my mistakes and successes in my first time veg plot. I will give you further updates on this veg plot throughout the year. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and hit the like button because that lets the algorithm know it's a video of value. And of course, if you're an expert on vegetable growing, as I am not clearly, please do give me hints and tips and advice in the comments box below this video. I always love to hear from you, and I'll see you soon.